I'm Karen Collins. I'm in Baltimore at the SCAN, Sports, Cardiovascular, and Wellness Nutrition Practice Group Symposium, speaking with Barry Braun, who will be giving one of the major lectures later today. Dr. Braun is Associate Professor of Kinesiology at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and his research involves the effect of exercise on the treatment and prevention of type 2 diabetes, as well as the impact of activity and inactivity on appetite regulation. If we're thinking about someone who is going to start getting more active, or perhaps has been, but nothing has happened in terms of weight that they'd like to lose, would there be a difference? Do we have any data about how they fuel themselves before physical activity? I mean, if they ended up, say they hadn't eaten like that, would they be more predisposed to overcompensate?
You know, it's a great question. I don't think we know the answer to it. I think most of us would predict that if you were to go into the activity with marginal blood sugar and you became even mildly hypoglycemic, that you might overindulge afterward. You'd be more likely to. If you were to go into it fasted, there is a suppression of appetite during exercise. We don't really understand it very well, except we know that the higher the intensity, the more the suppression. I don't know if the sort of hunger, satiety situation in which you go into the exercise, how that's reflected in whether or not you overcompensate afterward. Nobody's actually looked at that. But it makes me wonder about, the balance between making sure you're well fueled so that you might not have this post-exercise hunger, versus you don't want to take in a couple of hundred extra calories that you may not need. So that's the balance.
I'm going to load up now because I'm going to have to.
Right.
What are the things that we do know that would be sort of a take-home message for those people who are trying to manage their weight, are moderately active or thinking about it, and they're worried when they hear things like this?
Physical activity works. There's no question that people who add physical activity will lose weight or maintain weight loss. The problem is the dose. The dose is high. So if every American Heart, American Diabetes, ACSM are all saying 150 minutes a week to reduce your risk for cardiometabolic disease, the recommendations, if there are broad recommendations for weight loss, probably twice that. That's the problem. So yes, physical activity works, but the dose is high. If you look at the women in the men and women in the National Weight Control Registry and survey, what these 6,000 now successful weight maintainers have done, it's an hour a day of exercise. So the hope is, yes, it works. The downside is 30 minutes of exercise most days of the week is probably not a big enough dose.
It's got some health benefits, but if you're looking for weight
right,
impact.
Tons of health benefits, but the dose of exercise, and this is where we're finally, I think, starting to get more sophisticated about exercise and its use in terms of health and weight, it's not one size fits all.
And so, get the minimum first for overall health. If weight loss is the goal, or if you have lost and you want to make sure you're maintaining it, don't be afraid of the potential appetite effect. Get your head on straight as far as not overcompensating, and see if you can find a spot to go ahead and boost the physical activity to the next level. Is that?
Yeah, I think that actually makes perfect sense, because there's no question that it is hard for many people to do. I mean, people like me often have trouble understanding why people don't like to exercise, because I grew up running cross country and track, and I've been racing for 40 years, and I can't imagine not doing it, but I know that 95% of the people look at me and think, why would you do that? So, it is hard for people to do, and they should reward themselves, but the question is, how do you reward yourself in a way that isn't going to negate the effects you're trying to get?
Right. And maybe that's, part of the problem is that, for you, actually going for that one is a reward, right? You worked a hard day.
Right.
Oh, I get to go run.
Yeah, I mean, it's perverse.
Whereas other people,
right,
that's what they need the reward for doing. And so learning to find pleasure in the activity rather than needing to reward it.
So in some ways, I think, right, like you're saying, is, the process, the actual doing of the exercise needs to become fun. But I don't know if that's teachable. It's
hard if you haven't grown up with that.
Right.